America is a vast land. We often think of it as mapped, tamed, and conquered, from the interstates that cut through the Great Plains to the suburbs sprawling across the coasts. We believe we have illuminated every corner of this continent. But look closely at the map. Look at the empty spaces between the towns. Look at the deep, ancient forests of the north, the rocky hollows of the Ozarks, and the shadowed corners of your own bedroom. There are things here that do not appear on any census. There are histories written not in ink, but in fear. Tonight, we continue our journey into the unknown. We travel to the dense limestone hills of Missouri, where a cry unlike any known animal shatters the night. We venture into the freezing wilderness of the Great Lakes, where hunger transforms men into monsters. We visit a quiet Massachusetts town where, for 2 nights in 1977, something alien walked the stone walls. We look to the skies of Maryland for a beast that terrorized a president. And finally, we turn our gaze inward to the dark figures that stand at the foot of your bed while you sleep. These are not just stories. They are the whispers of a landscape that is still wild and still very dangerous. Welcome to Part 4 of American Legends. The Ozark Mountains are a place of ancient geology. It is a land of karst topography, riddled with sinkholes, hidden caves, and underground rivers. It is a terrain that lends itself to secrets. For generations, the people of Missouri and Arkansas have spoken of a creature that claims the deep timber as its own. They call it the Ozark howler. Unlike the fleeting ghosts of other legends, the howler is defined by its sound. It is not a howl exactly. Witnesses describe it as a guttural, terrifying blend of a wolf's howl and an elk's bugle, ending in a low, resonant cough. It is a sound that vibrates in the chest of anyone unlucky enough to hear it. Early settlers in the 1800s, Daniel Boone's contemporaries, wrote of a cat-like beast distinct from the mountain lions they knew well. They described a creature the size of a bear, with a thick, shaggy coat of black hair, but with the lithe, muscular build of a feline, and atop its head, strangely, a pair of prominent horns. Zoologists dismiss it as a misidentified panther or a mutated wolf, but the locals know the difference. They know that when the sun dips below the limestone ridges and the mist rises from the river bottoms, the sound that echoes through the hollows does not belong to any animal in a textbook. While many legends fade with the advent of modern technology, the Ozark howler has seemingly become bolder. In December of 2015, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission received photos from a trail camera that purportedly showed the beast. But more chilling are the direct encounters. Consider the account of a family living near the Mark Twain National Forest. It was a humid July night. The air was thick and still. Their livestock guardian dog, a Great Pyrenees known for its fearlessness against coyotes, began to whimper and hid beneath the porch. The father stepped out with a flashlight, expecting a black bear. The beam cut through the humidity and landed on the edge of the tree line. There, crouching on a rocky outcrop, was a silhouette. It was massive, heavier than a cougar, broader than a wolf. As the light hit its face, the eyes reflected a brilliant, glowing red, tapetum lucidum, the biological reflector behind the retina, but far more intense than a deer's. The creature stood up. It didn't scramble away. It stood its ground, let out that signature, coughing roar that rattled the windows of the house, and then turned, vanishing into the undergrowth with impossible silence. The family moved to the city 3 months later. Skeptics argue that the Ozark howler is a biological impossibility. A horned cat? Nature rarely mixes traits so drastically. Evolution tends to follow specific paths. But cryptozoologists suggest another theory. What if the howler isn't a cat at all? Some theorize it is a remnant of the dark and bloody ground, a species of megafauna that survived the Ice Age by retreating into the massive cave systems that honeycomb the Ozarks. The horns, described by witnesses, might actually be large tufts of matted fur, or perhaps it is a variation of the prehistoric Smilodon, changed by thousands of years of isolation. Whatever it is, it remains the apex predator of the region's folklore. It serves as a reminder that in the twisting ravines of Missouri, where the GPS signal fails and the roads turn to dirt, we are not the ones in charge. The howler watches from the ridges, a king of a kingdom we only pretend to understand. We move now from the humid hills of the south to the biting cold of the north. The boreal forests that stretch across Minnesota into Ontario and Manitoba are unforgiving. Here, winter is not just a season, it is a threat to survival. And born from this threat is perhaps the most terrifying entity in North American folklore, the Wendigo. Originating from the Algonquin-speaking peoples, the Wendigo is not merely a monster, it is a manifestation of greed, selfishness, and the ultimate taboo, cannibalism. The legends say that when a human resorts to eating human flesh to survive the winter, they do not just survive, they transform. They become gaunt, their skin pulling tight against their bones, appearing like a walking corpse. Their hunger becomes insatiable. The more they eat, the hungrier they become. They grow in size relative to their last meal, so they can never be full. They are the embodiment of the biting cold with hearts made of ice. This is not a creature of biology, but of spiritual corruption. History records tragic instances where this legend crossed into reality. The most infamous case occurred in the winter of 1879, involving a Cree trapper named Swift Runner. He was a man well-liked and respected by the Hudson's Bay Company, but during a harsh winter, isolated with his family some 25 miles from the nearest post, something snapped. When Swift Runner eventually reported to the police, he claimed his family had died of starvation. But the police found a different story at his camp. There was plenty of food nearby, dried meat and game. Swift Runner had not starved. He had succumbed to Wendigo psychosis. He had slaughtered and consumed his wife and 5 children. When asked why, he said he was possessed by the Wendigo spirit. He claimed his dreams were haunted by the urge to consume flesh, that the spirit had entered him like a cold wind. He was executed, but his story remains a chilling testament to what happens when the isolation of the northern woods breaks the human mind. To this day, hunters in the deep north speak of an uneasiness that settles over the woods. They talk about the silence, when the birds stop singing and the wind dies down. That is when the Wendigo is near. It is said to mimic human voices. You might hear a family member calling your name from deeper in the woods, luring you off the trail. It moves faster than the eye can track, stripping the bark off trees as it runs. Modern psychology calls it cabin fever or psychosis. But for those who walk the snowy tree lines of the Great Lakes, the Wendigo is a very real warning. It is a reminder that civilization is fragile. Strip away the warmth, strip away the food, and the monster inside the human spirit is waiting to be released. The Wendigo is not just in the woods, it is a reflection of what we are capable of when the cold takes hold. Not all legends are ancient. Some are born in a matter of hours. In the quiet, affluent town of Dover, Massachusetts, a series of sightings occurred over 2 nights in April 1977 that remain unexplained to this day. This was not a remote wilderness. This was suburbia. It began around 10:30 p.m. 3 17-year-olds were driving along Farm Street. The driver, Bill Bartlett, spotted something creeping along a low stone wall on the side of the road. His headlights caught the figure, and what he saw caused him to slam on the brakes. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't a raccoon. Bartlett described a creature with a disproportionately large watermelon-shaped head on a thin, spindly body. It had no nose, no ears, and no mouth. It had only 2 massive glowing orange eyes. Its skin was the texture of wet sandpaper, pale and rough. It stared at the car, its long, tendril-like fingers gripping the stones before vanishing into the dark. Bartlett was visibly shaken. When he got home, he drew a sketch. That sketch would become one of the most famous images in cryptozoology. If Bartlett had been the only one to see it, the story might have died there. A prank, a hallucination. But 2 hours later, on a different road in Dover, 15-year-old John Baxter was walking home. He saw a figure approaching him. Thinking it was a friend, he called out. The figure didn't answer. It ran into a gully. Baxter followed, stopping at the edge of a shallow stream. There, standing by a tree, was the same entity. The large head, the spindly limbs, the glowing eyes looking back at him. Baxter backed away slowly, his heart hammering against his ribs, and ran to the nearest house. The next night, it happened again. 2 more teenagers, Will Tainter and Abby Brabham, saw the creature sitting on all 4s by the side of the road. Abby described the eyes as glowing green, but the body shape was identical. 3 sightings, 4 witnesses. None of them knew what the others had seen before they reported it. All of them drew nearly identical sketches. The Dover Demon, as it was dubbed by the press, vanished as quickly as it arrived. After those 2 nights in 1977, it was never seen again. Theories exploded. Was it an escaped exotic animal, a foal moose, a monkey? None of the biology fit. The lack of a mouth and nose suggested it couldn't eat or breathe in a way we understand. This led many to look at the sky. Was the Dover Demon an extraterrestrial biological entity left behind or scouting the area? Or perhaps it was something interdimensional, a thinning of the veil between worlds that lasted for just 48 hours. The witnesses, now adults, stand by their stories. They know what they saw. Something walked through Dover that weekend, something that defied the laws of nature, and then, satisfied or scared, it slipped back into the void. In the rolling hills of central Maryland, specifically around South Mountain and the Middletown Valley, a legend lurks that is as bizarre as it is terrifying. This is the home of the Snallygaster. The roots of this monster go back to the 1730s, with the arrival of German immigrants. They brought with them tales of the Schnellergeist, meaning quick ghost. Over time, the name corrupted into Snallygaster, but the fear remained. The creature is described as a chimera, a nightmarish blend of reptile and bird. It is said to have a metallic beak, lined with razor-sharp teeth, enormous wings, and sometimes a single cyclopean eye in the center of its forehead. Some accounts even mention octopus-like tentacles writhing from its mouth, used to snatch unsuspecting prey from the ground. It is a dragon of the New World, a chaotic mix of parts that shouldn't exist together. While the legend was old, the panic became very real in 1909. Newspapers in the region, including the Middletown Valley Register, began reporting a spate of attacks. The Snallygaster was no longer a ghost story, it was a public menace. It was blamed for stealing livestock, carrying off dogs, and allegedly seizing a man named Bill Gaster, draining him of his blood, and dropping his body from a great height. The hysteria grew so intense that schools were threatened with closure. The reports reached the desk of President Theodore Roosevelt. An avid hunter and naturalist, Roosevelt allegedly considered postponing a planned African safari to personally hunt the beast in the Maryland hills. While he never made the trip, the fact that the White House was discussing a flying reptile in Maryland speaks to the grip this monster had on the public consciousness. The legend of the Snallygaster has a peculiar, almost darkly comic ending, tied to the era of Prohibition. The creature was said to have a weakness, the scent of alcohol. It was drawn to the mash of moonshine stills, hidden in the mountains. According to local lore, the beast met its end in 1932. Attracted by the fumes of a massive 2,500-gallon vat of moonshine in Frog Hollow, the Snallygaster dove in. The alcohol overwhelmed it, and the creature drowned. When revenue agents arrived to raid the still, they reportedly found the massive, decomposing carcass of the monster. They blew up the still, and the body was destroyed in the explosion. Convenient? Perhaps. But sightings dropped to 0 after that day. Today, the Snallygaster is a mascot, a local curiosity. But hike the South Mountain trails alone at twilight, hear the rustle of large wings in the canopy, and you might wonder if the Schnellergeist truly drowned, or if it's just waiting for the next batch to brew. Our final legend does not inhabit a forest, a mountain, or a specific town. It inhabits the most intimate space you know, your bedroom. It is a global phenomenon, reported by millions, yet it defies scientific explanation. We call them the shadow people. The experience often begins with sleep paralysis. You wake up in the dead of night. Your mind is alert, but your body is frozen. You cannot move a finger. You cannot scream. And then you sense it, a presence in the room. You look into the corner, or the doorway, or right beside your bed. There is a figure there. It is darker than the darkness around it, a silhouette that absorbs light. It has no features, no face, yet you can feel it watching you. You can feel a malevolence radiating from it, a pure, distilled intent to harm or terrify. While many shadow people are amorphous blobs or static-like human shapes, There is one recurring archetype that chills researchers to the bone: the Hat Man. Witnesses from cultures separated by thousands of miles and completely different backgrounds describe the exact same entity: a tall, solid black figure wearing a trench coat and a wide-brimmed fedora or gaucho hat. Unlike other shadow people who might flee when noticed, the Hat Man stays. He observes. Some say he feeds on fear. Others claim he appears before a tragedy. He doesn't attack physically. His assault is psychological. He stands over the bed, looming, sometimes leaning in close to the paralyzed victim's face. Why does a supernatural entity wear a hat? Is it a disguise, a uniform, or is it a memory of a human who once was? Skeptics attribute the shadow people to hypnagogic hallucinations, a firing of the amygdala during the transition between sleep states. The brain, confused and paralyzed, projects its fear as a predator in the room. But if it is just a trick of the mind, why is the imagery so consistent? Why do people who have never heard of the phenomenon describe the same static texture of the skin, the same hat man, the same old hag sitting on their chest? Some quantum physicists and paranormal researchers suggest these entities are interdimensional travelers. They exist in a dimension right next to ours, and when our brain waves shift during sleep, we tune into their frequency. They are always there, watching us. We just usually can't see them. So tonight, when you turn off the lamp and the room plunges into darkness, look into the corner. That shadow by the closet, did it just move?